when life is hard. Because often our lives, no matter what we're doing, they become filled with conditions and situations that we didn't ask for. Right? We didn't ask for them. Now, many years ago, I would say right before the time the movie The Secret came out, I started getting sick with some kind of crazy viral respiratory thing. And I went through like a 1.5 year period of either getting it, having it, or recovering from it. And then I'd have a couple of weeks where I'd be like, yay, I'm well. Then I was like, I'm getting sick again. Then the movie The Secret came out. And then all the spiritual groups and New Age groups that I was part of pointed their finger at me. And they said, you'd manage your negative thinking, you'd stop being sick. Which meant then that I felt ashamed. And I felt like I was a failure because I was part of so many groups, right? I was here at Unity. I was doing the Course in Miracles. I was involved in some outside New Age metaphysics kind of groups. And I felt like a failure. Felt like an absolute failure. Like within a few months after that, actually, I was seeing an allergist in town named Jackie Smiley, and we cleared it up. It was an allergy. It was some kind of allergy. Now, on the spiritual path, there is an emphasis on positive thinking. There is an emphasis on positive thinking, but with that goes the idea that if life is miserable, that there must be a reason for that. So on a spiritual path, we often will blame negative thinking. Now, there is a correlation between negative thinking and positive thinking and how we're doing, because when we are thinking negatively, it is harder to access the divine direction. When we are in a negative thinking cycle, we tend to blame the outside world. And we get stuck on what it is that is driving us nuts, what it is that's causing a hardship for us, what it is that we are struggling with, and we'll get stuck in that. Which means, of course, we're not going to be aware of solutions that present themselves to us, right? Or the divine direction that might help us to make things a little easier. And so positive thinking and negative thinking, they do make a big difference on how we're able to manage our current situation. But we are a center of activity. So we are creating a life through us, right? How we experience all the craziness out here depends on how we are engaged with our divine nature here, right? How we are engaged. Now, a lot of us are doing the things to make a happy life, and we practice positive thinking, and we do feel good, and we're doing our vision boards and saying our affirmations, we're doing affirmative prayer, right? We're doing all kinds of stuff, writing on our gratitude journal, meditating, going to yoga, doing all that stuff, right? Giving up sugar. And yet there will still be situations and conditions that come into our life, and suddenly we're facing a hardship, right? Suddenly there's something going on, and we feel suffering in our body and our soul. And we're like, well, I was doing everything right. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Church of Religious Science, said in his book, A New Design for Living, not every moment of our lives will be filled with complete happiness, with everything that the heart can desire. Life is often filled with undesirable situations and conditions. Now, there is such a focus on positive thinking in the New Thought spirituality group that when I found this quote a few years ago and I started using it a lot, I had New Thought people who've been deeply immersed in the science of mind teachings who were like, Ernest Holmes said that? Ernest Holmes didn't say that. I'm like, oh yeah, he did. Oh yeah, he did. Right? But what he's saying is life is often filled with undesirable conditions, undesirable situations. There is a Bible verse that says, the sun rains on the good and the evil, or the sun shines, California, who knows? The sun shines on the good and the evil, though it rains on both the just and the unjust. Right? And so this is about outside conditions that we have no control over. No control over. Where we want to focus is being engaged with our own divine nature because all we can change is our response to whatever is going on. So I was thinking about this, and maybe it's not necessarily about negative thinking and positive thinking. It's about understanding who we are really inside, so that when we are in a struggle, it's not about going from this deep struggle to suddenly just thinking positively. It's about understanding ourselves so we can choose the next best thought. Choosing a better thought than where we are. Now, I get this idea of choose happiness, right? Choose to be happy. Happiness is a choice. Positivity is a choice. And I believe it and I get it. But what I have known is that I'm not always able to just jump to that, depending on where I am, right? How does somebody, when they've lost a loved one, how do they just choose happiness, right? If somebody is dealing with failing health or financial, troubles, how do you just suddenly choose happiness? If you are dealing with overwhelming anxiety and depression, how do you just choose happiness, right? So I'm thinking, I heard Mary Morrissey say this, choose better instead of bitter. And then in the Abraham Hicks book, Ask and It Is Given, she talks about choosing the next best thought. And so that might look like we start off and we feel hopeless, okay? This is my life right now. How am I supposed to survive this? I wasn't counting on this ever happening. What am I supposed to do? I feel so alone. But then we go from hopelessness to maybe frustration. Why did I let this happen? Why didn't somebody tell me this could happen? I know somebody and she knew all about this, and why didn't she say something to me, man? So we can go from frustration to blame, right? Okay, and that's a little better. But then from blame, maybe we can move into hopefulness. Okay, well, I do know somebody who went through that, and, well, they managed, and they did something, and if I can just take a breath right here, if I sit with it for a minute, well, then I'm opening myself to direction, what I can do next. Then optimism. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. In fact, I just got a little idea, and I can act on that. Okay, so we choose better over bitter. We choose the next best thought. So it may not be like in grief and despair to bliss and joy. We may not be able to just jump there. Like if we have a ladder that is like a 100-foot ladder, right? Do they get that tall? I don't know. Let's say 8 feet, okay? You can't, I don't know, like I couldn't just go from the bottom rung to the top rung. I couldn't do that. Like a cat, I don't even know if a cat could do all 8 rungs, right? Or 8 feet. But we can take it one at a time. Take it one at a time. So if someone is in despair, in grief, right? They may think, how do I survive this loss? But then move to anger. This is so unfair. This is so unfair. I'm a good person. The person I lost is a good person. And yet, these people out here, okay, who are horrible people, why is everything going good for them? Right? And so then we move into blame. Well, if only I would have thought of this thing. If only, this person out there hadn't done whatever. But then we move to disappointment. Wow, this is just not where I imagined I'd be. Into hopefulness. Again, hopefulness. Well, maybe other people have gone through something similar. I'll sit with this for just a little bit. I'll just sit with this, and I'll agree to want to remember my divine nature. Even if right now I'm like, I don't know how I could do that. I'm willing to be willing. All right? Into hopefulness. So we chose a better thought instead of a bitter thought. And what happens is it sets up a series of, when we choose a better thought, then we respond to a new action. We take a new action, we respond, and then we receive divine direction. And we have another response. We take another action. All right? So we are receiving divine direction when we choose a better thought. We don't have to be at the happiest thought ever to receive divine direction. Just choosing the next best thought. Okay, the second thing we can do, and life is really hard, is to see our life as a sacred assignment. To see our life as a divine directive. To look at our life right now, accept it how it is now, to say, well, what can I do with what I've got in my life right now? How do I work with this package right here and now? In the early 1980s, there was a young man born to a family in Australia, and I'm betting most of you have heard of him. His name is Nick Vujicic, and he was born with no arms or legs. Okay, you've seen him. He's like a motivational speaker and an evangelist now. At 8 years of age, he was already asking this question all the time. Why me? Why did this have to happen to me? Why can't I have this life instead? When he was 10 years old, he tried to commit suicide. He was bullied so badly. Even though he had loving parents, he was bullied so badly at age 10, he tried to commit suicide. When he was a teenager, the janitor in his high school said to him, you know, you ought to go talk about all this stuff. You ought to share this. You should share your struggle, right? I mean, if you think this struggle's hard, imagine doing it with no arms or legs, right? So he had a message to share, and at first he thought it was ridiculous, but then he was like, you know what? Why not? Because who knew better than Nick at that time how awful it felt to be bullied so bad that you wanted to take your own life when you were a 10-year-old kid, okay? So he now goes around to schools talking about bullying. He goes to prisons and talks to the inmates. He goes and preaches to the inmates that are on death row. But see, Nick had to learn to see his life as a divine directive instead of a disability, okay? He's now married and has 4 beautiful kids, just beautiful kids. He has a beautiful family, beautiful family. It is easy to look at a situation and think they are unfair because you know what? Some of them are, right? If you think about that baby being born, no arms or legs, that is not fair. That is not fair. There are so many things in life and they really are not fair. But if we are suffering and we are struggling, we get caught up in that problem, which means we're not opening to divine direction, right? We're unable to see how solutions can come into our life. Now, another thing is when something has happened to us and we're focused on that situation, often the situation has already happened. And so it's in our history, but we're still focused on it. And even if it's a present dilemma, the dilemma is here. So we're sending our vital life force energy out to all of these situations, out to our pain, out to the blame, out to our history where the original incident took place. And when we do not have all of our vital life force energy gathered around us here and now, we'll start having physical ailments in the here and now, right? Memory issues, sleep issues, those are among the first to be affected by lowered vital life force energy. Okay, so when we can accept the package that our life is in now, that this is what we have to work with now, okay? It's not about being like, oh, this is wonderful, I love it. It's not about going into denial to accept it. It's about being willing to work with what is here now. Then we start calling back our vital life force energy, and we're able to see our life as a sacred assignment. We are able to live our mission. Okay, we become more empowered then because we're calling back our vital life force. We can manage our current condition. Now, we don't have to like it. We don't have to be okay with it. But we have to accept this current condition so we can move forward, so we can receive divine instruction to know what to do next. Okay? What to do next. So, first we're choosing a better thought over a bitter thought. We just choose better. Then we see our life as a sacred assignment. Then we find the joy, find the lesson, find the good. Find the joy, find the lesson, find the good. In the book of Thessalonians, Paul says, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Jesus Christ concerning you. The will of God. Now, when I first used to hear this, the will of God, I thought that meant me having to do a bunch of stuff I didn't want to do. That's what I thought it meant. That I would have to do what God wants me to do, not what I want to do. But here in Unity, we remember God is all things, God is source energy. That means we, each of us, are God in a physical body. We are source energy in a physical body. All right? The will of God is the expression of our divine nature, okay, the aspects of our non-physical self through the physical body and into our life. That's the will of God. In Jesus Christ concerning us, okay, Christ, that's our I am consciousness. That's the non-physical part of us, the divine part, the aware part, the solution-filled part, right? Flowing through us when we choose to honor our divine nature and our actions reflect honoring our divine nature and the divine nature of other people. We are living our highest purpose right there. That is the will of God flowing through us. And we are engaged with our divine nature when we can appreciate what's happening, when we can appreciate things. We don't have to appreciate what's happening. We are engaged with our divine nature when we can still find things to appreciate in spite of the struggles that we're going through. I'm going to read the Ernest Holmes quote again and then add a little to it that he said. Again, not every moment of our lives will be filled with complete happiness, with everything the heart can desire. However, we pick the thorn from our skin and we learn to take from each moment only the joy, the lesson, the good that's in it. Only the joy, the lesson, the good in each moment. Not the joy, the lesson, the good in the tragedy. Although I'm sure a really highly conscious person could do that. Like, I'm not there. But in each moment, in spite of the difficulty, find the joy, find the lesson, find the good. Now that can sound ridiculously hard when you think about some horrible things that have happened. In our own world, in 1996, Amber Hagerman was murdered. And her parents, because of this trauma, they started the Amber Alert system. Now, since as of April of this year, almost 1,000 children have been rescued because of the Amber Alert system. Almost 1,000 kids. Find the joy, find the lesson, find the good. Okay, almost 1,000 children have been rescued because of the Amber Alert system. But there is no way her parents need to find the joy, find the lesson, find the good in the fact that they don't have their daughter in their life anymore. Right? But what's happened has happened. And we have to accept where our life is right here and now. Find the joy, find the lesson, find the good. We don't have to give thanks for the tragedy. We just find something to give thanks in spite of it. You've heard the meek shall inherit the earth. When we are meek, we move into a state of humility, of humbleness, not humiliation, humbleness, where we can experience the awe that is still our life. No matter what's going on around here, when we are meek, when we are humble, then we respond to situations with love. Okay, love that's the great harmonizer. Love who has a cosmic force whose sweep is irresistible. In all things give thanks does not mean for all things give thanks. We don't have to do that, but in spite of the bad things that are happening, still find something else to give thanks for. Now, this can still be hard. And I've had days where I've been really crabby, really salty, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to try this giving thanks thing. And so I always start off with these two. I am so happy and grateful it is not raining rocks. It is not raining rocks. And I am so happy and grateful that gravity remains intact and we are not all spinning off the planet right now. Okay, usually when I can get through those two, then I'm like, okay, I am grateful. Well, I am grateful for indoor plumbing. I mean, that's nice. You know, I used to live in a house where we had to walk out the back door, down some steps, into the basement to do our laundry. Did you think I was going to say go to the bathroom? No, do our laundry. And so now when I will never take for granted having a laundry room in the house again. I will never take that for granted. But see, when I go through these steps, then I am filled, I'm humbled, because no matter what is going on, there is still so much to be grateful for right here in this moment. Okay, my beating heart. right? My beating heart. My children's good health. Okay, there is so much to be grateful for. So in all things, give thanks. Find some tiny thing that will shine the way forward. And if you have to start off with sarcastic gratitudes, it's okay. Because in a way, that's really choosing a better thought. It's choosing a better gratitude, right? We start with where we can start, and we just keep choosing a better gratitude. So it helps us to choose better, which helps us to find our divine directive, to see our life as a sacred assignment, right? And then we can go into the fourth thing that I'm going to share. This is just about reminding ourselves that we are the center of activity in our life. We are the center of activity. Our experiences of life all come through us, as us, because we are source energy, partially in a physical body. Luckily, most of us is still non-physical, full of all the solutions, the love, the guidance, the direction, the nurturing, the companionship, the support. Luckily, that's still most of us. And we are divinely designed to receive that instruction. We weren't put in a body that would cut us off from communication, but we were given free will to cut off the communication if we want to. So remembering we are a center of activity. God is all things, and that means me. That means you. Okay? I am a center of divine activity. Do that with me. I am a center of divine activity. If we choose bitter instead, if we decide to blame things out here, if we take life for granted instead of having any gratitude, what happens is we end up sliding into victim consciousness. In victim consciousness, our belief is life happens to me. All the bad things happen to me. Right? That's what happens when we're in victim consciousness. If we are stuck in the blame, then blaming things outside of ourselves, well then we're mad and we think, well then this has to change and this has to change so I can be happy. Things have to go back to the way they were. I don't like how they are now, so things have to go back to the way they were so then I can be happy. And if we do that, then we're asking, why me? Why did this have to happen? Why do I have to struggle with this? Why am I going through this? Right? And why questions never offer any solutions. Why questions only offer us more proof of our victimhood. That's all that a why question can do. That's why I figured this out. That's why when you ask your child when they did something, they were acting up, you said, why did they do that? They always say, I don't know. Because you can't get a straight answer with a why question. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can if it's a tech question. I don't know. But I think with kids and with our own subconscious, I don't think we can get an answer if we're asking that why. We just get more proof of our failures, and we get stuck in the victim consciousness loop. So we choose better instead of bitter. We see our life as a sacred assignment. We practice gratitude, right? Find the love, find the lesson, find the joy. Then we get to that space. Life happens through me. Life happens through me. And then what happens is that on those days, and there will be these days, when we slip into victim consciousness, we'll have awareness of it. Because in victim consciousness, we're always going to feel terrible. We're going to not like how we feel in victim consciousness. It's going to feel off. We're not going to like it. We're going to feel bad. And we will notice that when we are having a regular practice of being re-engaged with our divine nature. We'll notice when we go into victim consciousness, and we will say to ourselves, wow, I feel terrible. I feel so crabby. I feel so blamey and complaining. I slipped, that's all. I can re-engage. I can choose a better thought. I can choose a better thought. Find the joy, find the lesson, find the good. Right? Find the joy, find the lesson for the good. So we accept the package of our life then, choose a better thought, accept our life as our sacred assignment, find the joy, find the lesson, find the good, because gratitude moves us into that humble nature. So we can be awe-struck by the good that is in our life. There is that within us that knows what to do, how to do it, and it compels us to act on what it knows. Divinity, source energy, is everywhere present because source is all things. That means everything in our environment is also an emanation of source energy. That means everything in our environment becomes a potential channel for divine direction to come to us. Okay, this is synchronicity. This is synchronicity. And when we are engaged with our divine nature, we experience the synchronicity. We will see it. We will be able to understand this humble little package. And it is humble because if we're not engaged, we won't notice it, or we'll write it off as wishful thinking. So we have to be engaged with our divine nature to receive the divine understanding. So when that synchronicity happens, we can interpret it. We can put the pieces together. We'll know what to do right now. That's how divine guidance works. It tells us what to do right now. It's not going to tell us do this, and then on January 12th. Okay, it's like our GPS in our car. If you had to drive to Boston, Massachusetts this afternoon, would you appreciate your GPS spewing out the entire trip? Like in the first, it'd take 20 minutes to do it probably, or a half hour. You couldn't do anything with all that information. You'd be like, okay, I'm on Avenue E, what do I do again now? Okay, I'm at the 10 freeway, what do I do now? Okay, so that's how divine direction works with us too. Just one step at a time. Because if it spewed out the entire contents of this one thing we're working on, we could do nothing about it. It would just be too much. What we do now, though, is important. We don't create powerful good for change in our own life and for humanity from a state of victim consciousness, right? We need that like empowered, engaged consciousness, right? Life happens through me because that's where we receive support. That's where we receive the support if we're struggling. That's where we receive the support. There was no spiritual master ever gave the promise that by knowing this good stuff, life would be easy. Okay? Life's not easy. But what they did say is if we start practicing this, just practicing it, we don't even have to be great at it. Right? We don't even have to be great. Just start practicing it. And then it starts helping life be a little softer. Right? Those landings, okay, the points a little smoother. That's what it helps us do. So this is not dealing with things when life is hard. It's not about being okay with the bad things going on in our life. It's about accepting what's happening here and now. What do I have to work with here and now so we can start receiving guidance? Now, Rumi said the wound is the place where the light enters in. And so I thought, wouldn't it be beautiful if when something happens, when we are faced with the struggle, with the trauma, okay, with the difficulty, with the obstacle, what if we were to look at that as the wound that the light is pouring through? And we can have awareness of all that light if we accept, well, this is happening now, this is what I have to work with. Doesn't mean we did anything wrong. It does not mean necessarily that anything was our fault. Sometimes there are just conditions in life that we have to work with. So we call forth the divine through everything that we're going through, and we receive divine instruction, and we can still live with joy and happiness. Right? We'll deal with the hard stuff, but we'll experience the good stuff too. We are actually divinely designed to handle anything that is thrown our way. We can choose the better thought. We can see a life as a sacred assignment. We can practice the gratitude. And remember, we are the center of activity in our life. That is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember, you are the divine activity of spirit in a body. You are the heart and hands of spirit in this world. You are a soul designed for growth and goodness. Not easiness. You're a soul designed for growth and goodness. In everything you do, you really, really, really are blessed. And so it is. So it is. Thank you. All right. Unity Band. All right, ladies, you want to come forth? Come on forth. Don't they look so lovely today?
Yes.
Hi, Linda. Hi, Bonnie.
You never knew it, right?
All right, and we're calling forth the good right now. We're calling forth the activity of source right now. We say together, divine love through me now blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Okay, and feel free to sing along. This is the fun song. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's hear some rattles too. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. This beautiful, this beautiful, this beautiful day. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. Thank you for my friends, Spirit, thank you for my friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. My wonderful, my wonderful, my wonderful friends. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit, thank you for this day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. This healing, this healing, this healing day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome back. And now we bless this light, we bless the good, we bless the activity, we bless the gift, we bless the giver, knowing that it goes to do great work in this world. So it is. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right, some quick announcements. On Sundays, we have our Course in Miracles group from 8:50 to 9:50. So you can be in here in time for service at 10 a.m. All right. We started our book club, Write It Down, Make It Happen, on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. And if you didn't come, but you still want to come, please join us. That's okay, right? If you want to be a little behind, you can be behind. That's fine. Catch up. Yes, Annie?
It's a good book.
Oh, it's a fun book. It is just a lot of fun. Today after service, we are having a team unity meeting. And mostly we'll probably be talking about the community garden. But I know we have a couple of other things that we'll talk about too. I have some fun and exciting news I'm so excited about. Michael Garrity, who has joined us today, was going to start holding meditation on Wednesday evenings from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Right? So yes, we are so happy about that. So happy. Okay, so we will have like a regular meditation night here at Unity. He's been doing it for a long time in the Redlands area, and in general, he's just been doing this stuff a long time in the Inland Empire, right? So I'm so happy.
About 30 years.
About 30 years. That's a few years, right? Yeah. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. That will start on the first Wednesday in September. So we have like another week and a half, right? Okay. Saturday, September 21st, we are going to have Tina Ferran's group here again. We did that in January. I think it was January. It was so much fun. There were so many people here. We served lunch. There was like so much good food. Unity, like that was a great fundraiser for us. I mean, we made a lot of money selling food, just selling food, right? We had a bunch of homemade soup, and Annie made a vegan dish, and Karen brought in some beans, and it was like great afternoon. It was just really fun hanging out. Oh, and there were so many cookies too, so many cookies. Yeah, Tina tells me, you've got to have cookies to offer people later in the afternoon because they'll start running down. I'm like, okay, we can do that.
And what is it that day?
That day, they're calling it the Oracle Fest.
Yay!
Yes, and our own Ellen will be participating in it that day. Okay. So, do we have any other announcements? Annie?
Next Sunday, birthday Sunday.
Yes, next Sunday is birthday Sunday. We'll be celebrating some September birthdays. Right, Phyllis? Right, okay.
World.
Oh, and World Peace Day is coming up in the beginning of September too. You'll see an event for that on Facebook, and Karen will be including that info in the email blast. If you're not getting the email blast, you can leave your email address. You can just write it on one of the green cards, and Annie will get it, or I will get it, or somebody here will get it, and you'll get on that email list. Okay? All right, any other announcements? Okay. Shall we circle up and sing our peace song? All right, and I'm thinking maybe let's do it around this section right there, okay?
Do you typically turn the video on and keep it on?
We can just leave it on for now. All right.
We might just
I have to be by the door to catch everybody. Okay, we're doing it.
This circle right
Okay, yeah.
And thanks, tech guy Kevin.
Okay. Alright, there we go.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our power, leveling all we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let things begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. And we know for sure that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen.
All right, you can grab a snack next door in Harmony Hall, and then we'll meet in the Crystal Room for the teen unity.
I just wanted to say, I'm really happy.
No, I'm out now. Okay, oh, it's you using a Samsung for your Galaxy? Or your tablet? Yeah. Because I was thinking of just because I got that one Galaxy, I was thinking of just getting a Samsung. The Galaxy S10 or it's the Note or the Galaxy tablet. Yeah. It's probably better if I use the stuff I have, I think, because I can access it from my watch. Like I can configure things from my watch. No, I was saying for me, for my Samsung, you think I should upgrade to a Samsung to make it work? Because that's what I'm trying to. Well, this works, you know, putting it together, networking it. Yeah. But I was thinking, what do you suggest? Samsung or just stay with this, or does it matter? Depends on what what exactly do you need the proprietary Samsung features, or like, do you think you'll use Samsung coders?
I'm just trying to get like stuff like that for my video or putting it on YouTube and stuff. So I really don't need it. It's just,
Well, you probably want a good camera, so I would probably recommend a flagship of some sort. But what I'm wondering is like whether you'll use the proprietary features, because it could affect your decision on whether to go with like a
yeah,
Pixel
maybe I'll
3
bring
or
the next
something
time
like
maybe
that.
and take a little risk at it.
All right, then I'll look into it. All right, thank you. Have a good day.
That's okay, I get that. That's okay. All right, thank you, Nancy. It was nice to see you. Nice to get to meet you. It's so nice to see you here today. I like that shirt. So like,
For that purpose, it's much better suited for that.
you wanna like have a snack?
Listen, I have the most exciting news for you.
Okay.
And anybody else?
I don't think so. I think it's the next Tuesday.
She tells me that the woman
Because tomorrow's still August.
at Concord County
Yeah, Memorial Day should be the first Mondays in September.
and Labor Day all
Oh, wait, Memorial Day is May. Labor Day. Labor Day is September. That's right.
My husband said Memorial Day, and I said, oh,
Okay.
that
Right.
was a beautiful thought.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful, I got copious notes.
Thank you. Yeah. It's so nice.
That's the best, right? Yeah. Yeah.
It starts with the S though. I don't know, but it's a.
Anyways, I wanted to tell you also,
All this research on when we got the.
each owes 3 jobs,
And where the
anymore,
burial grounds
to do jobs.
spirits and stuff that are still here.
Da 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 da. We still recording?